Hello everybody. I am Kamala Ingrid, your host, and this is the Holistic-Yogi. Thank you for joining us today on my podcast, and I have a wonderful guest, Toni Valor. He is the CEO of TVI Records, and also now he's on a new journey, which we will jump into it later on MMA. So let's go ahead and let's welcome Toni Valor into our podcast today. Hello, how are you?
Hey,
Thank
how
you for
you doing?
joining.
How you doing?
I'm good. Good, and I got your, here we go.
I see that. I
TVI.
really appreciate all the support. Man,
Thank
that's
you.
really cool. It's really
That's
cool.
awesome. No, I admire it. So I wanted to get into it. To tell us a little bit about how you got into it. I know the story, but people that don't know you, I would love for them to know a little bit more about your record company and how you got into this. And let's go from there. It's all yours now.
Absolutely. I mean,
you're breaking up a little bit. Hold on, everybody. Let's start again. Ready?
A little kid, I actually picked them.
We're having a little trouble here, everybody. Hold on. Toni, it's a little bit off.
We should be good now. Can you see me?
Okay. Yes, I can see you.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's start again.
So I started doing this when I was a little kid, since I was basically like 5 years old. I picked up my first instrument at 9. Wow. I took it serious at 12 years old. When I mean 12, I mean like I joined a band in my school. And then from there at 15 is when I really looked at a console for the first time. And it was my dad's console. My old man was in the music industry, God rest his soul. And I told him, I said, listen, I want to learn how to do this. And ever since then, he took me under his wing. He taught me everything he knew. And from there, I took the flag and I tried building the label from the ground up from what he left it off. And that's pretty much how I got into it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a pretty big one. Let everyone know what was the big hit that kind of got your father going on and where you are now today.
Actually, it's crazy you say that. He wrote this song back in the day. His first one, not many know about this. His original name was Toni Seppi before he changed it to Valor. Okay. He wrote the song "The First, the Last, My Everything" with Barry White back in the 70s. However, this is a fun fact. According to him, it was the first, the last, my in between. And then when he showed it to Barry, Barry was like, no, change that crap. Put it the first, the last, my everything.
My everything.
And then from there, that's how they changed it, And then his first check that he received from the royalties, from the writer's share.
Yeah.
He was like, I couldn't believe it. It was the 70s. I got the least amount, and it was over $600,000.
Wow.
I was like, what? That's crazy, And then from there, he was able to build his company and he put it into investments and things like that over time. He got an IRAA double platinum pack for Kool and the Gang. It was a song called Celebration. And
Lady. You know that one.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
It still is to this day, So things like that is what made him.
That's awesome. And here you are taking over and moving forward too with that same legacy, building your own stuff. That's amazing. I love that. And now, I also love the fact that you're now in a new journey, kind of venturing to something completely now your own. It's on the MMA. Can you let us know what brought you into that?
Well, fighting's always been a hobby of mine, since I was a little kid. As kids, I used to fight a lot as a kid, from where I'm from. I had a rough background in many ways. I lived with my mother. I actually didn't really get to know my father like that up until I was like 14, 15, when I started to take it serious with the machinery and all that. So I decided, I want to do this a little bit more serious. It's healthy, this, that, and the third. But I know it also takes a lot of work. And I'm developing it into a passion and hopefully into the future. Well, not hopefully, but eventually into a career. I just need to be right for it. I need to be ready, and just put the work in properly and pay the right price.
Awesome. And how do you feel with what you're doing with the record label versus this? How does it differ? What like mentality wise? How do you feel? I know the other one's easy because you've kind of been doing it as a kid, but shifting your mindset.
Well, I'll point out two things. In the sense of it being easy, it's easy in terms of the passion I have for the music, but every single process has its hurdles. It's got its ups and downs. So you got to be really like mentally tough in the music side of it to be constantly creating, consistent, disciplined. You got to deliver this, that, and the third. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, but that really takes tons and tons of work, you know?
Right.
So believe it or not, that helps with the discipline aspect of it and the mental toughness, believe it or not, and the physical element when it comes to training and MMA. Most of it is mental, but a lot of it is very physical. You know, you got to be ready for it. So that alone, that mindset, me being able to apply that into a different field helped tremendously with my progress in training and all that. And also, it's just a matter of, like how I said, discipline and consistency on both ends. You can't fall off. You got to stay focused. You can't let nobody ruin that. You know?
That's true. That's true. And what has been your challenges and how do you keep in both worlds? Like, how do you keep yourself, well, mainly with where you have been, how do you keep yourself from falling out of that passion that you love doing, that you love doing? Like sometimes, you know, everybody has a moment where I love doing my job, but if I overdo it too much, I don't give myself that time to break. I kind of go with the flow, then I find myself kind of like losing that oomph.
Yeah.
So I have to give myself that break. What do you do to keep that passion flowing, to keep your sanity going and creative as well? Because your world is also just as creative as well. You have to, you're dealing with music and people. And
Yeah.
how do you do that?
I like that you said that. I love that you said that. In fact, this is the part of the process that nobody really likes to talk about too much because, frankly, they don't really care. But when you have folks like yourself and I that are behind the scenes and making things happen, these are the kind of things that people that look up to us want to hear, you know, to see how they can go about it. So I'm really proud to talk about this. With that being said, believe it or not, it's been a challenge to take on both paths, but on the same token, a positive thinker sees an opportunity in every difficulty, whereas a negative thinker sees a difficulty in every opportunity. So I took it as a challenge, you know, and a challenge that I'm proud of. So believe it or not, when I'm feeling some type of way in the studio or I'm burnt out from a beat, this, that, and the third, guess what I do? I fight. And it helps.
And it helps you release that stress. Yes, the endorphins kind of kick in.
But wait a second.
But you also are a daddy, so how do you handle family life? Because you're recently...
Now, wait a second. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. The challenge at first to get into a groove with both paths was a bitch. That's not easy. But once you get it down packed, it turns like clockwork. You know, it's easy. It's second nature. Now, being a daddy, that itself, you're not living for yourself. You know, at the end of the day, you know, life changes, your mentality changes, the decisions you make, this, and the third, being a father, whatever. But also balancing out now 3 jobs, because being a father, being a parent, that's a job. That's a full-time job. Thank God that, you know, I have a beautiful, caring, and loving wife that helps take care of the family and helps me in that aspect while I'm able to work and put food on the table. It really helps, you know, in that sense. If it wasn't for her, I'd be fucking up in that area, honestly, you know. So given that I have that cushion, you know, I'm very fortunate to pursue my other paths. However, I don't want to speak out of term with someone that is going through it, that's a single parent. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to overstep my bounds to someone that's watching this and maybe like, well, that's the kind of struggle that I'm going through. What do you know about that? You know what I'm saying?
No, at the end of the day, I get it, because I basically raised a daughter as a single mom, you know, so I get it. But no, it does. You have to be creative. You can't turn off being a parent. You got to be hands-on, no matter how tough it gets on you in your work life and life in general. You still got to turn on and put on that smile and keep going, because they don't know. You know, you've got to just be there present for them. So yeah, I get it, but how do you like I know I balance my time by disconnecting from those moments where I felt like drained, and I would do something with me and her. It was creative outlet with art because she loved it. So I would take on to that world with her and disconnect in that way. But I don't know. What do you do? Since you have
Just like you said, you got to pause. I paused on my music life for a little bit. I haven't put out a single in a video in God knows how many months. And at some point I was putting things out every week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes life just happens. You got to put certain things on pause and prioritize yourself. But that doesn't mean you stop in that other area. You work at it. You keep your back. Like, for instance, I broke my foot a month and a half ago, but that didn't stop me from stretching. That didn't stop me from lifting a dumbbell. That didn't stop me from seeing where and in what areas I was still strong and I could still apply. So when I get back in the octagon, when I start training again, I'm not flabby. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I still got, I'm not completely rusty. I still got some edge. So that's sort of the same thing when you're taking a pause, especially when you're trying to handle something for your child. I'm sorry. If you got a kid, take care of your kid. I don't care what you're going for. Take care of your kid. You be a parent first.
That's
That's so awesome. That's where it's at.
So you're talking about when you actually fracture your foot, right? What did you do during that time? Because sometimes, when you're going through something, life is going, that's like a time you have to reflect, stop, and try to figure out how to handle things differently now. How was that a challenge for you? How did you push forward through it? And what did it make you think during that time? Because that's like a time of self-reflection and self-healing.
That's correct.
In a sense, so what came up for you in that time?
That's correct. Well, it's actually, it's funny you say that. I was participating in this paramilitary program to train my mental, my mental toughness, I'll put it like that. And it's a challenge because I have other endeavors that I'm trying to pursue. I don't want to speak on it, I don't, but it's very necessary that I go through that kind of process and put myself through that warrior's path, if you will. But to answer your question, it sucked, honestly, because I was really on a pace. I was training 3-4 hours a day on the average, whether it was my trainer, Miguel, my coach, shout out to him. Or back at home, shadow boxing, or hitting the bag, or trying to practice with the kick, whatever it is.
Right.
So it sucked. It just came to an abrupt halt. But when things like that happen, you got to realize that's how life really is. You got to adapt and overcome. That's part of it. In the ring too, if you have a fighter that's different, you got to adapt quickly. So that's a skill that you got to practice in all facets in life. That's how I look at it. So like I said, I try to keep active where I can. I'm not going to jump on my foot and break it again type of shit. I'm not going to fuck it up, but excuse my French, but I am going to try to do a lunge if I can help it, or if I got to sit down and do my dumbbells or whatever, or if I got to use the elliptical, something. I'm going to get something. It's the mindset. It's all the mindset. Everything else will follow through. It might take 2-3 years, but everything follows through.
Right. What do you see yourself doing in this MMA? Like, where do you see yourself in a year from now in this process?
I see myself being a challenge to skilled fighters.
Okay.
I see myself really making an impact. There's not many figures out there like myself that are going after what I'm going after and are good at it at that. I think it's respectable. And besides, those are two things that you don't got to pay me to do. I love that. I love music and I love fighting, and that's just something that's very therapeutic on both ends. But I've realized, if anything, I've come to terms, I can't do both without the other. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it needs to be
like
a balance.
Fine balance.
Correct. So as far as in a year, I'm gonna work my ass off. I'm not one to talk shit. I'm not gonna be like, I'm gonna break people's heads and all that stuff. No. I'm not that kind of talker or anything. But just know, this is something I'm taking serious, and you will see me soon in the octagon.
Nice. And who is your favorite MMA fighter that you look up to? Either whether he's formerly retired or currently still active, and why do you like him? What do you like about him?
I like two guys in particular. aside from the champions in each division, respect to them and the hard work that they accomplished. But personally, for me, I like Israel Adesanya and Jorge Masvidal. I mean, I'm not too crazy about Masvidal's attitude all the time, but you know, he backs up, you know, what he says he's going to do most of the time. Adesanya, on the other hand, has a great discipline. I really like his style. If you notice, there's two things about those guys that they have in common is they're mostly strikers. You know, the ground game, I hate the ground game. That's not the ground game sucks, you know, but that's if you're gonna survive, you gotta learn how to do it, you know. Eventually fighters are gonna know that, you know, Valor is all about getting away from you when it comes to the ground game, you know, but he's good at it at the very least. That's where I want to be at, you know, because I'm not trying to, you know, twist your arm or put you in a headlock. I'm trying to break your face kind of thing. That's my style.
So when you like it's basically the discipline, and the other one where he backs up his, you know, his I guess his story, like what he has meant to say, he backs it up, he sticks with it, right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So those are the two things that you want to kind of integrate with your style.
Correct.
That's nice.
And his fighting style is awesome. If anything, mine is very similar to his. That's why I like it.
Which of the two?
Masvidal, more Masvidal, because he's more on the punching side. Israel is more on the kicking side, and I haven't been fighting for that long, at least professionally training, to compare. Not really compare, but to have a liking towards the kicks like I have towards my punches, because I'm not there yet with my skill.
Okay, no, you got some time, but everything is a skill, everything is practice, and you'll eventually see where, as you go into your first, I guess, ring, you're gonna start knowing where you gotta clean up and where you gotta take forward. And that goes with any kind of life sports you go into. I've taught so many different styles, from football trainers to NFL trainers. NBA trainers to, you know, former baseball. Each one is a different style. Each one has their own little skill, and each one has their little, you know, kinks that you gotta work with. You know, from the clients that I've worked with in professional athletes, they all have their little thing, you know, so it's like you learn to work with that, and, you know, you apply the best tools. And that's kind of like what I see that you will eventually learn to. You pick from every fighter or that you liked or that you admire, and you just take from them and apply your own. And you'll, with the time, learn to advance, you know, those techniques. So, and what do you think that you need to do at this moment, like when it comes to like the training part? Where do you feel like you need to work on most at where you are today?
Well, given that question, I'd like to take advantage and shout you out and support you as well. Given that she's got these balls, guys, that I didn't know that would really do me tremendous help. I roll on these balls and they hurt like a motherfucker.
Yeah, but once you, therapy balls,
thank you. I couldn't think of the name. But these things, she taught me how to put it into certain motions, into certain parts of my body before I stretch. And stretching and obviously doing that is it's a vital part in training. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I pulled a muscle, a shoulder. I mean, you name it, it sucks. When you pull a muscle, you know what it is, especially in a fight. You don't want to pull a muscle in a fight. No. So taking care of that part, it is crucial to your training, to how you come out as a fighter. And I got to thank you for that. You know, I mean, wow. You're the one that put me on that, you know, and it's helped tremendously with my kicks. Yeah. You know, I'm not as, now that I've done it for like, what is it, 3 months now that you put me on this?
Yeah.
3 months. I don't even feel it in the mornings on my back like how I used to, because it's such a normal thing now.
Yeah, you know, they're actually like these therapy balls, basically, that you work on a particular trigger point, meaning that if there's tension and tightness in the trigger point area in the body, it's going to feel hard. Like, for example, we work on the hip flexors and they're tight and you can't sit and your knees are up high. If you're sitting in that, what we call Indian style sit, a lot of times, especially men, have tight hips and tight back. The hamstrings are all very tight. So what these balls do is, if you hit them in a particular area of the hip, psoas, glutes, you roll them a certain way, they help open up that muscle. So that way, when you come back into that sitting, you're a little looser. And the more
That's
you
right.
keep getting into a repetitive motion of forward folds, and depending on what I give you to open at that particular muscle group, and then repetitively working with the ball on a consistent back and forth with stretching, rolling, you realize that within that hour, you've opened up that hip.
Yes.
Correct?
It's ridiculous, the effect that it has on my performance. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, everyone sees that. Yes, they're painful at first, because you remember how when you first try it, when the trigger's intense and you've never like opened that muscle, it's gonna feel tight.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah, but now that you've been doing it, now it's easy, right? It's like nothing.
No, now I can't go on without doing it. I need those freaking stretch balls. You know?
Yeah, it's a form of therapy that actually a lot of us, what I love about them is like, it's almost like somatic, because it's basically what I use them for my 21-day resets. And a lot of times when I work with people hold tension in different parts of the body. So I use them to help them release. Women will hold it on their shoulders, men tend to hold it on their hips and back. And so what they do is just help release that muscle so you can actually access more range of motion and release tension and stresses that we put on a day-to-day basis based on their jobs and their everyday lives. So this opens it up, and it's a form of doing it at home without you having to spend X amount of dollars. So the investment you pay on the walls versus what you do with a therapist, probably 30 minutes of you'll spend $250 with a therapist, and you won't even get the results fully because you have to do it on a repetitive time. Where here, I teach you how to do it, how to take care of it, and it's a small investment that is going to last you a lifetime. That's why I do it with all the athletes. So
yeah,
I think it's key. It's key element to keep the body very flexible, because the more flexible you are, the less injuries and the faster recovery. As you've noticed, you went through a fracture. Your recovery, you saw how your foot was swollen. Within the next day, what did I do? The swelling went down.
Oh, that treatment hurt like a motherfucker. I remember that. Oh man, no, but it really helped though. It really helped.
You were able to put your foot down, right? Everything worked, and then, so it's actually, there's a lot of different techniques that I use, but there's stuff that I can also teach my clients how to use it and do it themselves as they get better. Because in this case, you're going to go through, it's not going to be your first injury. You're going to go through plenty other ones as you continue in this type of intensive training. So the more you learn those techniques as we continue moving forward, you're going to learn to know how to handle it yourself as well. Just like with the balls.
Well, if anything here is a fact, and it's whoever is going to listen to this part, pay attention to this one. This is important. What you say has helped me tremendously, not only physically, but from an educational standpoint. I'm able to understand the fundamentals of my muscle groups based on how I want to perform, the style that I'm going for as an athlete, as a fighter. And to understand it and apply it is very important. That's something that a lot of people don't get from a therapist or a $250 session that they got to have on time. Most of them don't really care to go that far. But if it's anything, if you want to learn and you want to do this right and you're going after something serious, then this is what you got to do, man. And knowing about it, having the knowledge to somebody that knows what the fuck they talking about and telling you what's up and you listening, you're set. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's real talk.
But it's important that you as the receiver also, you're doing your part also to see that, because it's important for me to know that you're receiving that information and you're understanding it, because it's also key. It takes two in everything we do, two to tango in everything you do, just like it is as a marriage, it takes two.
That's right.
As parenting, it takes two, you and the child. Same thing with your career, with your business and music, and you're now where you are with the MMA. It takes two, you and your coach, you and your therapist, so forth, and whatever. It always takes two. So if you guys can speak the same language, you'll take whatever it is to a whole nother level and keep growing. And I think that's important for people to understand and learn. And then whenever you find yourselves in a place of like where you're stuck, take that time to step back and say, okay, why am I here? Because to me, those are times of reflection. and a time to say, okay, maybe I'm moving too fast, and maybe I need to like figure out a different outcome of where I need to be. And those are times to always look at them as a positive, not a negative. And that goes with sports, you know, because I've been in the situation like as a yoga teacher and a healer and mentor. I've had my accidents where I've had time to look back and say, oh, I can't now move. I can't do anything. I had an accident about 4 years ago, and that put me bedridden. And I said, geez, I'm really screwed now. What? But you know what? It didn't stop me. I ended up having all my clients call me and say, hey, it's okay. We can do this on, you can train me through video. You sure?
Yeah, that's a blessing.
That was a big blessing because I thought I was going to not be able to work because I couldn't go. I lost my car because the car was you know, like I said, it got towed from the accident, and my back was, I'm telling you, my back was completely out. Back, neck, everything. So I was completely bedridden for a little bit. And the first thing they told me is like, if you're okay to train online, I'll take you via Zoom. Okay. Damn. And I didn't stop working. I just worked with my headphones, put myself on the bed, and they were open to take my training that way. And that meant a lot because I realized, wow.
That's the educational thing I was telling you about. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's the impact you make in people. And look how it played out when you got stuck in a certain way in life. But that's what I'm saying. That's why it's so important that people who do go through the emotion with you really listen to what the hell you're saying.
Yeah, they do. And they were okay with me not being there, because most people get very attached, in my aspect with my experience, get attached to me, that they need to have me there. It's almost like, and I'm like, no, you know, in this case, but that time,
that's good.
You know, something critical, they all understood and had that compassion, sympathy for me, that they were like, no, you heal, just guide us through. Right. Same thing happened through the pandemic, and I couldn't say, oh, wow, I never stopped working. Where most people, you know, I was able to continue on. Yes, it slowed down a lot for me, like group classes slowed down, but it made me also take time from my projects that I had put on hold for so long to move forward. So it helped. And I think that was the key for me. So I think it's awesome when you're able to look at yourself when you're going through your training, to see that when things like this happen, and you've been able to do it because you just had your first fracture and you're like, okay. And you still move forward. You still was able to push.
That's correct.
But everything in moderation, to where you're not hurting yourself again. You're able to work around the injury and continue building up.
That's another challenge, though. To those who want to go for it like hard and you know, you got all this energy, slow down, man. Slow down. I mean, I suffered that consequence.
Yeah. Hold on, everybody. We're having a little bit of technical. There we go. I got you back. You said slow down, everybody, or did you went through that?
I was saying that you got to slow.
Oh, we're losing it again. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I got you now. Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's do this one more time.
Let's go.
No, that I was saying, I've gone through that the hard way. It sucks, you know. So when somebody tells you to slow down and you're just starting out, or you've been doing it for a while, but you're just trying to pick it back up and all that stuff, slow down. Really, really. Don't break your foot. Don't break your arm. Don't break your shoulder like me. It sucks. I was the dumb one. Learn from my mistake.
We all go through that. We all have our moments where we take ourselves, and it takes us to go through life lessons in order for us to teach us sometimes. Because I mean, I'm myself that way too. I had to learn the hard way. I'm in a different place now because I'm, I guess, older, wiser. You know, you learn to slow down as you get older. But in my youth, I remember doing the same thing, just kind of like jumping the loop, and everybody's like, oh, my parents would be like, well, you know, piensa, you don't think before you dive, you just dive into it. But I've always been that personality, because I always feel like I would take it, you know. Now I think ever since I had my daughter, I've learned to strategize and plan things out. But as a child, I would just dive into something, even if it didn't take me anywhere. At least I tried it, you know.
Right.
But I was always that kind of curious personality, and let's do it.
One thing that I've noticed as I'm going through this, you know, our minds evolve as we go through a process. So you try to anticipate ahead of time with
Right.
certain things, whatever it is that you're going for. So the first thing I realized was, well, if I'm going to climb up there, you know, the way that I want to go for in that industry, in that fighter world, I've seen so many guys that have worked so hard give out because they had an injury they couldn't come back from.
Yeah, that is true.
So that makes me think I want to get far, and I don't want to go about this in a way where I'm going to stop myself before I even take off. Yeah. You know, that's why it's so important, at least for those who are going for it for real, to take that into consideration, to serious consideration, and seriously apply it to really move forward. I mean, like I said, a broken foot and sitting on my ass and trying to find a way to adapt was a bitch. You imagine something that completely stops you dead on your feet.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, that's true.
So
that is true.
It's so important. You know, that's something I really think about, that I keep in mind in the back of my head. Be aware, be careful, have fun, knock them dead kind of thing. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. And how are you handling your whole nutrition now? Because that's also part of the whole vital part of being in that top shape and body recovering fast. What are you doing for that?
Well, as far as training is concerned, I take creatine and pre-workouts, you know, to give me that little extra crack boost. I'm sorry, I don't mean to have the camera on the face. But it really helps with my energy. As far as that's concerned, that's just the supplements. Now, as far as my nutrition, I try to stay away from the fast foods. I'm not too anal on exactly like, okay, this chicken's got a little bit of skin on it, let me take it off. You know, I'm still 24 years old. I try to take advantage of that up until I'm 35. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
But
you're experimenting on that.
Yeah, but I don't be getting no fast food shit like that. I don't be drinking sodas or any of that stuff. I don't really like it like that, you know. I like candy. That's the only thing. I love candy.
You're guilty of it, right?
I love candy, man.
I'm guilty of dark chocolate, so I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
I have to have my dark chocolate at night. I was like, it's so funny because my partner would be like, you gotta get your chocolate. We ran out of it. I was like, yeah, okay. I try to give myself a day or two, but I was like, damn, yeah, I still need it. It's like my little treat, I guess.
Yeah.
But I get you.
No, to me, I eat that like it's food. That's why I gotta stop. Stop.
No, yeah. No, it's vital. It's vital for when you're doing your sports. You really have to notice on nutrition is key. Because I mean, you and I come from a Colombian family, so we know the background of how we were raised to eat a certain way, and everything is heavy and everything like that. So as I kind of got older and went into my own way, I created a more healthier, cleaner palate, and now in where I am today is mostly vegan. You know, sometimes vegetarian because I do like my eggs, so I'll have my eggs. So I can't say it's vegan, but I tried vegan egg and it's not the same. So, but for the most part, I'm very vegan. And honestly, you feel more clear, you're more alive, there's more energy. You know, there's a lot more going on versus when I was eating when I was much younger with my family. The meats, the rice, and the time that they ate also was a big deal, because the next morning I would feel so lethargic, you know. And I also tested it when I became a yogi for the first time. I got my certification. I did the experiment of eating the way I was, raised versus the way they teach you when you're going through the certification to go vegan during that time. And honestly, I saw a major difference in clarity, performance, just alertness. All that made a big difference in that. I'm talking about when I first started, getting into that path. And that's when I started cleaning up, the whole form of eating taken away. I stopped at that point. I haven't, red meat is not part of my vocabulary, basically. Can't say I've had it here and there in every blue moon, but I don't crave it. It's not in my thing. It's not, I can live without it. I don't crave it. And it's just, I just find that it's been something, it's a lot easier for me. Like I look back and it's nice to even say that my father, my mother, they both got into that kind of eating lifestyle too. Yet they pulled away from that old, culture that they had. And they're not saying that they won't do when there's holidays and things like that, but in the end, they end up being very much clean diet, and they're healthier. I see them. their aging process too. It's like they don't even show their age, which is nice, you know, to see them, you know they're getting older, but it's like there's a big, you can see it with my folks, you know, I could see that it's like they had jumped on the wagon for some time, and you see how it slowed that process down for them. So they look much younger than most people that I've come across that are their age, and they're like, and they look so worn out. And you look at my folks, and you know, they're still got that pep going on. You know, that's kind of cool. So it does work. You know, it does have an impact. And people, even with me, don't believe my age. I'm about to hit 50 in August, so no one believes it. You know, like
right.
I got a 24-year-old, you know, who's vegan, strictly vegan, and
Damn.
people think that we're sisters. That says a lot.
What? That's crazy. But you know, that's one thing. If you want long life, that's all I've heard. You gotta eat right.
You gotta eat right. That's fast food. That stuff that wears you down.
No way around.
You know, that's bad oils. All that stuff is just not cool. You know, it ends up killing you after a while. And it's like it really doesn't help in the long run, because as we get older, everything about us that's kind of slowing down. It doesn't have the same vitality that it is when you're in your 20s and your 30s, you know, as you hit your 40s and 50s. And then when you hit 60s and 70s, everything starts slowing down. So if you were not doing it right in the early stages, it's going to catch up to you at the end. You know, just like when you see, you know, that's why it's important. Like I have a friend that did, his podcast is coming out this week. Usaka Polite. He's retired, but he did everything right when it came to nutrition. Holistic healers to, you know, basically big time, you know, he did his yoga with me all the time. He's consistent with all that, very flexible, very humble. And you look at him today, still looks like he was, you look at him today, he looks no different than he was when he was younger. He has,
there you go.
And he, you know, he takes good care of himself where he's at. So, and I haven't spoken to him in years. So, you know, it's been a few years that we kind of lost touch. We connected recently for the podcast, and it's just nice to see him kind of like where I left him the last time I saw him.
Yeah, no, that's that. I bet that makes a big impact on how you feel, and how, I guess in a way it's like, you know, I'm doing something good with what I love doing at the same time. That's the best, isn't it? I mean,
it's rewarding.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah,
very rewarding.
It's rewarding. And like I said, it goes like that with everything. Where you see people, like I have seen clients of mine as well move forward in their yoga practice without, you know, now once I've moved on from where I left off from them, and then I come back to run into them, and then they keep their practice going on their own at home. It's kind of nice to see that, you know. So it's like, yeah, you touch someone's life, and it's nice that they see the benefit of it. So
yeah, it's like I did that.
Yeah.
I did that.
I help, because it also takes the other person. I says take two. It takes two to tango. And you can't help. You can only
yeah, but no,
yeah. You can only initiate it. Yeah, but it takes the other person to want it.
But I'm saying like that person used your guidance is what I'm saying.
Yes.
At the end of the day,
yes, and
it's like when I'm training with my coach. He don't say much, but when he sees me pull a move, or when he sees me pull a thing or this and that, I know he said, "Damn, this motherfucker got me." But I taught him that, like,
yeah, and he likes it.
Exactly, you know. So yes, it does take two to tango, absolutely.
Because he knows that you're listening and you're retaining. That's actually wonderful. Because that's very rewarding for when it comes to him. For him as a coach, it's like, wow, he finally, you know, he got this, and the improvement over the time. So it's like, yeah, okay, I did this. Even though he's gonna be hurting after. but
and I bet he was so satisfied.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. But he taught me that. I was gonna come up with that. You get what I'm saying? Like,
right.
He taught me that. That's what I mean.
That's awesome.
He did that, so to speak. That's what I mean.
That's
so
awesome.
It's amazing, and as how do I put it? Not as only a client, but as an athlete. When the person that's teaching you is pleased with your progress, then you feel like you're doing something right. It helps with the self-motivation, self-love, and a pat on the shoulder, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is so important. That positivity, that self don't overdo it now, but that self-reward that you give yourself from the hard work that you actually put in,
I don't
that's
think
important.
you can overdo it. I mean, I think you can reward yourself and because that's a way of kind of like a self-love and validation. And only you're giving it to yourself. It's not like someone's giving it to you and you need it from other people. You're doing it to yourself as a form of gratitude and, hey, I did this. I think, and a lot of there's nothing wrong with that at all. I think it's needed in today's society. You know, people need to be more self-centered and grounded and self-validate themselves. You know, it's a form of self-care. I think it's important. Confidence is very much needed today, you know, especially because today's society, especially with our children, all this social media detaches people. More than anything, it's all about the appearance, but in the end, you don't really know what the person really is feeling, because what they're disassociating that. They just want to show you, they want to basically prove to the public what they want other people to see, instead of really validating for themselves. And
nah, you got to stay true to yourself.
And
that's not the way to get ahead in this game.
Right. And that's the thing I think about sports. Sports tend to ground you. You know, they tend to put you in that reality of like discipline, grounding, and at the same time, I find it's humbling. You know.
Well, fighting, you're constantly under pressure, and you can't fake the person you are when you're under duress or stress. It takes out the real character in you. So yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, you're humble, because at the end, when you're done with the fight, you don't go after the person. You really have to be gratitude that, hey, we did the best. Whether you win or lose, you still, you know, shake and move on. You know, it's like, that's a humbling experience, whether you win the fight or not. And that's like, you know, hey, this is just practice, you know.
Right.
So that's pretty good. I like that. And is there any advice you want to give out to our today's youth? Any wisdom of wise words that you want to give out to our youth today, you know, in regards to motivation and sports? Anything that you want to, or music, anything that you want to give out to our viewers today?
Well, speaking from self-experience, hard work beats talent. That's all I really got to say.
I like
work your ass off and don't stop. Don't stop being disciplined. Go at it every day. In fact, it's a discipline that you got to have with yourself. I don't care how bad you're feeling. I don't care. Nobody gives a shit.
That's true. You got
work harder.
Yeah.
Work harder. And that's not me saying it to the person that's watching. That's what I tell myself every time I feel down, or every time I don't want to get something done, or every time I don't have the motivation. Just do it anyway. Go through the motion. And it takes a lot of mental practice, a lot of training, but hard work, like I said, hard work beats talent. That's what I'll leave you with. It's my motto.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Toni, so much for your time. And I appreciate everybody watching this podcast. And until our next one, I
absolutely
wish you much
I can't wait.
Luck.
I got to have you on mine now.
I am there. I am there. Just let me know and I'll set the time. So, thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll be until next time. Thank you for joining the Holistic Yogi.